Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I told you we were going to be doing a live stream today. You didn't believe me on the internet. I've been trying to let you know. I know Midwich has been trying to tell you what's going on. My name's Chris Neto. I am with Starin, and this is our first Midwich Live. And with me, I am joined by my host, Jenny Hicks. Jenny, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Very excited. Really pleased to be able to welcome everyone to Midwich Live. This is our brand new 30 minutes-ish AV talk show streaming around the world. We're on Midwich's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch socials. And we really want people to ask questions through the chat function of whichever streaming platform you're viewing this on. We've got a great production team behind us, so they'll pick up those questions and filter them over to us so that we can answer them throughout the show. And if you don't get to watch it, or if you know someone that didn't get to watch it in full, don't worry. You can watch it back via Midwich's YouTube channel. Just search the Midwich group and don't forget to subscribe. And the show is going to be available in podcast form as well via Midwich Sound. So you'll get all of that info to follow on our socials in the coming days.
This is awesome. I'm super excited. A live stream by an AV, traditional AV company, not something we see on a daily basis, but we are looking to do this more and hopefully monthly. So that is all dependent on you, the audience. So the more you can engage with us, the more questions you can put in. I did mention earlier on the social channels that there will be some sort of prize. Please stick around to hear more about that because Jenny will provide some details later on the show. We do have a great guest who's coming on the show to talk about all things cool in AV, especially in the world of collaboration and the return to the office, which is kind of a hot topic right now. But why do I have to go to a guest when I have our resident expert here with us? Jenny, give me a little take about what is going on in the world of AV that you are seeing as a technology leader and an influencer and a thought leader in the space. So please, I want to hear your thoughts on what's new and hot and exciting in the world of tech.
Sure. So we've labeled this podcast or this stream the office and meeting room technology that we expect to boom post-pandemic. And isn't it great that it finally feels like maybe that post-pandemic is really in sight? But it's been really interesting to watch the press lately and some of the trends and what the influencers are saying. When we went into this, we all sort of convinced ourselves like there's barely 50% of the office will return, at least 30% of people will stay at home. And that number keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller now. And I think that reality is setting in. We're all a bit ratty. We've been at home for a long time and none of us really have a perfect setup because we were rushed into this position. I know for one, I'm constantly changing the kit that I've got here. So in terms of trends, right now, my best example is what Midwich are doing. So right here in Norfolk, and we've just started to look at what should we be making sure that we have installed? What do we need to do to upgrade, refresh, video enable any meeting rooms? Because we're going to see a gradual return to the office. And I think that's the same for a lot of people. We saw yesterday, I think it was Nationwide Bank told 13,000 employees work from anywhere. So all of a sudden, wow, people need portable solutions because maybe it's not work from home, maybe it's work from Starbucks, maybe it's work from any office, maybe it's work from the car park at your kid's school, who knows? But they've already been given that go ahead. For us, we have half of our UK business who work on PCs, slice PCs, and the other half on laptops. So we've had to really put some thought into our meeting rooms because as we gradually return, there's going to be a need for teams to talk to each other. And some of those people will be at home for longer than others. But then we have this, bring your own meeting is a logical choice for us, right? But wait, not everyone has a laptop. So how do they bring anything? And so we're riding that wave at the moment. And the biggest thing that we found is it all depends on job role. So there is no one size fits all, especially when you're looking at someone's home and really when you're looking at their desk as well. And you might get close to it in a meeting room, but you can't always please everybody. So the really exciting thing for me at the moment is that we've identified this opportunity for our field salespeople. And we're looking at those guys and going, right, you haven't traveled. We've saved some money by you not traveling and staying in these hotels. but you're still selling, you're still presenting, and in a lot of cases, they're still demonstrating products. So what do we need to give you to maximize that sales op? Because every call that they're on is a potential sales opportunity. And the other day I was watching some police drama and there was a smart board in the background. I was like, product placement, this is what we need. So we're actually looking at the moment at what we can do to have such good product with some of our external salespeople that people say, what is that? What are you using? And that's great for the channel and great for the end user when they get kit that they feel comfortable with and gives them confidence to have their camera on. And the same, what can we place? I mean, Chris, you are the perfect example. Is that a D10 in the corner of your home office?
That is a D10 that's here. It's the 55-inch version of it, and I do use it. I mean, when I do have to get up and do some whiteboarding and stuff like that, I go through that. Now, that is a Zoom room, so it's set up to actually, I can go ahead and make my Zoom calls from that. But typically I'm set up on this side and kind of detailing and whiteboarding there. And if I have to, I bring it in as a second participant. I think what you said is 100% correct. It's the tools. Right now, I have particular tools that I'm set up and comfortable with using at home. And I would love to have the same opportunity to go back and have those tools back in an office, right? The dual monitors, the better camera, better microphones. Is that 100% possible? Not necessarily. But, depending on the space and what the configuration, and God, we can go into the details of what is what term you're going to call a huddle room going forward. Does that even exist anymore? Does a 2-person room even exist? Is that really now the function? Because it used to be a 6-person room. Those questions are left to be asked. And to be honest with you, I really rather hear it from somebody who is a virus expert and telling me how you can, what's the best ways to kind of prevent the whole thing. But as we move forward, a lot of contingencies are kind of happening and everybody's planning a way back. And you know what? I think ultimately it's going to come back to how you work and what makes you comfortable at working. And your employers are going to kind of bend and move with that. So having somebody like Chris come on here who is working with a very flexible solution to that problem, because I may be, a fan of Zoom and you can be a fan of Teams, and we can use the same room, but it doesn't have to be a dedicated room anymore. So having somebody like Chris here to explain some of those differences would be great. Do we want to put him on the hot seat?
Yeah, definitely. Ask him some awkward questions. No, I completely agree. And I think that, what we're trying to do and what we're seeing a lot of the channel now starting to say the same things, and that is that we just don't know. And this is a great opportunity. So maybe, we all thought, boom, the offices are going to go back and we're going to see business come out of everywhere because everyone's going to enable their rooms. But when you sit down and talk about it, everyone's become an expert. So they've all been working on their own device, and they've been, able to kind of become an expert in their own UC stack. And we've never been in this position before. We've always left it up to IT or facilities or the C-suite to say, this is what we use and this is how we work. And we have to be really careful now that we don't make decisions on behalf of our workforce, see them return to work because we didn't consult them and say, my job's harder at my desk, my job's harder in this office. And then the other thing, and I really feel quite strongly about this, and I experienced it the other day on a call. Right now, we are all on this level playing field. Everybody's head is sort of the same size, in the same size box on your Zoom call or your Teams call, and everyone has a remote experience. So we've all kind of learned this new etiquette, like, oh, they just took an intake of breath. I know they want to speak next, so I'll wait until they've said their thing and so on. And I really think that massively changes, and we don't know what that looks like unless we start running these experiments now. But we didn't always talk particularly highly of the remote experience, versus the in-room experience before. And we've got these great products now that will auto track and so on to help us. But we need to get in because we've never had a remote en masse workforce like we have today. And if you've got 4 people in the room bouncing off each other, turning to each other to make eye contact and so on, you're going to feel quite left out. And if that's your team call, it's probably going to have an effect on your work culture.
Yeah, very, very interesting times, because as technologists or AV people, for the most part, we never really looked or dived into the cultural side of a business. How people do the business, right? How people like to use the tools that we give them. Usually it's some, higher level person that selects that at their company, and they offer them the tools because somebody asked for it. And then you go to find out that they're not really using the tools. I mean, one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with was always the room scheduling tablets. And that's very cultural based, right? There's companies that adapted to the room scheduling thing very well, but then there's others that would just put a piece of paper over it and said, I got it all day. And you were left with that. As somebody who spent many years on site, I would go around and see, still over the outdoor, the panels that were outside the conference room door would be a piece of paper stuck over it saying reserved all day for whatever. So we are going to really clash with this new style of work. And for the people that are sitting and listening, and the audience members that are sitting here in disbelief and go, no, it's just going to be back. It's not. It's so not. The people that have worked from home have now changed. It's been a year. Things have changed mentally. They're in a zone. They can get themselves into a work zone that is much different than before. Hours, the concept of days and hours have changed for people. It's not just an 8-hour 9-to-5 workday anymore. And that is something that everybody has to come to grips with. Yes, there is a work-life balance that has to be maintained. But I think that we all, as employees, as workers, as coworkers, we gotta be a little bit more empathetic on how people are going to work. And you are going to find that some people are going to thrive in it, while others are going to have a hard time with it. If you are somebody who needs to walk around and put an eye on an employee of what they're doing, and if they're not working, right? What is work? Work is going to be redefined now, and the time and the hours of how work is done is done. But if the work is getting done and getting done efficiently in a different manner, you have to now adapt. And that's what this is all about, adapting to everything that's going to be coming our way. It's never going to be the same, unfortunately. It could be for the better.
I know. Completely agree. I, for one, I'm really looking forward to getting back to the office, or at least having some people get back to the office. And I'll tell you for why. Multitasking. So I hope no one's on here that I've recently been on a video call with, but I've got 3 screens set up. And I don't think I can remember the last time that I had a call where I was totally engaged and engrossed in it. I've always got emails here, Teams there. I'm doing 7 things at the same time. And when I'm on a call, I know that the other people are doing that too. And I feel quite sorry sometimes for some of the training that we get at Midwich. And I'm like, I can see that everyone's doing all this stuff, and they're only probably taking in 10% of what's being said here. Whereas when we were in a meeting room, you stopped, you listened, you gave people, all of your time. And probably a really good time for me to introduce our guest. So we're going to be bringing on Christopher Jaynes. Chris is one of the founders and CTO of Mersive Technologies. They are the company that bring us the Solstice and Solstice Pod family. That's a device that is used in rooms for you to share your content wirelessly, and that recently, and so timely during the pandemic, added a conferencing feature so that you could pass through the in-room AV to your laptop. So really on trend at the moment. We call it Bring Your Own Meeting, and he's an ideal person to have here. Now, we are going to be asking an interesting question to a number of our guests on these shows as they run monthly. Chris, give us the question, and then let's bring Chris Jaynes on to answer it.
Well, you know what? My whole perspective about this is we have to go back a year, right? So this time last year, many of us were at ISE. I was not one of them, but I was home at this time and watching what was happening at ISE. And there's all the challenges and debates about, here's the pandemic starting and what is the role of ISE, and everybody's out there fist bumping, kind of washing their hands, wiping their hands, no masks, trying to stay away from people. There's a flu kind of conversation going on. But by the time the show ended, things were very, very different. And the attitude went from, hey, I'm going to fist bump. Hey, no worry about it. Hey, I'm just going to shake this person's hand and it's all good. What's a hug? It's not going to hurt. Yeah, things changed. So my question is going to be, I want to ask somebody who is, Chris is somebody who is very well known in the industry, affluent, knows, has been around and seen a lot of different changes. But the one thing we want to ask is, where did it hit him that he was in a very, very difficult and very different situation than when he flew over? And the question, you know what? I'm going to ask that question to the audience in your comments. Think back to a year. Where were you when it all came down? Like, were you thinking that this was just a temporary thing? Did you think 2 weeks was going to be enough? Honestly, tell us. And what was the reaction when your company said, go home, take a computer, we'll call you back when it's time? So let's bring on Chris and ask him that question, because let's get the CTO's perspective, of where this came from, of what was going through his mind as he's entering, the Amsterdam airport. I would try to say the name of the airport, but then I know I would butcher it. So I am not going down that road. Let's just say the Amsterdam airport.
I think so. We've just had a little note from the production team that Chris Jaynes is having some bandwidth issues and has dropped off to rejoin to see if he can improve on them. So it'd be great if, in the meantime, any of our audience could maybe let us know when they were packing down at ISC, what they were thinking and so on. But also, we've just seen a reminder here to tell you about the competition. So the cat's out the bag. By watching today, there's an opportunity to win a £200, €200, $200 Amazon voucher. And to do that, you're going to answer a question, and we'll give you a web address where you can enter that competition, and we'll reveal the question after we've spoken to Chris Jaynes. Hopefully he is able to join us. I've spotted, we've got, so definitely not thought it was going to be temporary. We have a comment from Gabe. Never thought we would still be here a year later. Me neither. So from a Midwich perspective, we have a business, Prase Media Technologies, who are based in Italy. So we had really some quite early signs of what was going on and what potentially the pandemic could lead to. And that was shortly after ISE. But even before that, Midwich made the decision not to attend ISE, just with everything that was going on in the media and the guidance from the WHO. So I think it was, for me, when it really hit home, was seeing what was going on in Italy and looking at making those changes and putting the measures in place to get those people home first. So we kind of had a dry run rehearsal, and we ended up going home, I think, a couple of weeks ahead of actually the stay-at-home message being given by the UK government. Chris, when did you find out? When did you realize how serious it was?
Well, the irony of this is that people forget that approximately last February, Starin was part of the acquisition, and we kind of went, with the idea that, hey, we're going to ISE and we're going to actually talk about, hey, we were acquired and we're part of a bigger global company in Midwich. And, being a global company, and you being here longer than I have, you actually saw the kind of like shutdowns happening sooner, right? Because in the US, we were kind of like, oh, maybe this is just something going on elsewhere, right? And the US didn't really, jump to it. And then all of a sudden we went from like, don't worry about it, we got it under control, to like, you know what, don't go anywhere. For me, I am somebody who was on the road constantly. And the last time I stayed out, and I'll be open and honest and transparent, the last time I was out was last February. I stayed at New York. I was out for Unified Communications Week in New York City. And I left there, took some selfies with some people that were there. It was probably, as a matter of fact, Gabe Maronta, who was on the chat, was one of the last people I took a selfie with, and Dave Danto from Polycom. We did not know that was the last time that we were going to see this, but at the same time, you sort of had this looming feeling. And then sure enough, within a week or two, everything was changed. Now I just came back, unpacked my bags. Unfortunately, I don't even know where my luggage is anymore. So my luggage was kind of left. And I think my wife may have just said, you know what, you're not going anywhere anytime soon. Let's get rid of it. So it's been a year, right? And the promise of the vaccine is now finally giving us hope that there's going to be trade shows. There's going to be a back to normal. What that normal is not for me to define, but I'll tell you what, just the simple fact that I can be anywhere near somebody and have a conversation that is not my kids or related to homeschooling or home learning. I do not want to be asked a math question anymore for the remainder of the school year. Please, to God, don't let that happen. We have a great chat. We're seeing all the comments coming in. Thank you so much from everybody who's from Adam Phillips to Alex James and Mark Coxon. All you guys encouraging. This is great. we've never done a live thing. So having to see you guys on the various platforms going ahead and giving us the feedback, that's awesome. And as you can see, we're trying to tap dance a little bit while Chris is coming back, but don't tell anybody.
Do you know what? I've got a question for everyone. So I owned up to this when we did the Present Summit with PCZ Optics. So this isn't new news, and I didn't get any sort of backlash from it. So I'm going to throw it out there now and see if we can get some fun comments from people who hopefully have blurred the lines of work and home like I have been. So I would love to hear from everyone. Where's the weirdest place in your house that you've had to work? And I know a lot of people have had to set up in their bedroom. I heard stories about, various different makeshift desks. So actually, Hannah, who's commented here, has talked about an ironing board as her desk, which is, really interesting. Now, here's one. Infocom connected, because the show went virtual last year. So I worked on UK time all through the day, got the kids to bed, and then I wanted my relaxing bath. I didn't want Infocom to rob me of my relaxing bath, and I didn't have the usual pleasure of flying to Vegas and enjoying, local time zone. So I ran my bath, and I have one of these bamboo bath trays, and I opened up my laptop and I watched the majority of the Infocom live stream from my bath. Now, if anyone can top that, please let me know in the chat. But it does spark an interesting question of 9 to 5. Has it gone? Like, are we ready? Or can we find those set working hours again? Or have we blurred the line so much that, we're not going to be able to, even in the new normal when it comes, are we going to be able to figure out what is work, what is home, where in the home is for work and where's not, and what time do we start and finish?
Yeah, in working for a company that has various time zones like Starin and Midwich, I'm based on the East Coast of America. I'm in New Jersey, and Starin is based in Midwest, so there's an hour time difference. I'm getting messages in early from Midwich, so I'm up early to begin with because producer Ben likes to send me a message early and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Can you jump on a call to test something out?" I have no problem with that. So I start early, but then when when Starin jumps in at around 9 o'clock, which is, 8 o'clock or when they start going, then my day is all different. And then when I stop working, they're still kind of doing their things. And in between that, I'm working with my kids who will come downstairs and ask me questions about the French Revolution. And I hate the French Revolution conversation, but you kind of got to do that. And you got to work with that. Now, what's happening is that we can rely on technology for only so much. I think that our business and what we do, providing the technology to the companies, has helped bring and connect the in-house people to the outside, like, because I've been remote for years, right? The inside people at Starin are very different in the sense that they're used to being like a group together. They have Pizza Friday, right? They have the birthday parties. They kind of do that. I'm always been kind of the outsider on the, as somebody who is remote, but I've adapted to that. And most of the people at Starin that are truly remote have always adapted to it, right? Us going back to the office is a very interesting thing because it's, we're going back and we're actually going to use the big space that they have. Like typically it's only like divided in half and the other half is set up as a conference room. So for me, it's definitely, it's normal to be in this kind of mode, but I miss going out and meeting with our integrators and integrator partners and our manufacturers, right? Because that to me, as a nerd, as an AV tech nerd at heart, I miss physically grabbing a piece of tech and seeing what the connectors are and going, you know what, this thing is machined, it's not plastic. And wow, look at that. You're already on USB-C. You're not even going with the USB. Like I can see that on a PDF. It's a lot different when you're a nerd and you can actually physically see it, flip it around and grab it and go, wow, this is going to be interesting. Oh, is this rack mountable? Oh, no, this is too small. What kind of, I can come up with 101 questions about a product and I can't wait to physically do that because I don't know about you, Jenny, but the toughest part about the Infocom ISE kind of messing up the schedule of the year is that we don't have those planned days. Like you knew you were going to get a bunch of new tech announcements in April that we're going to show in June, that we're going to ship in September. And in February, you're going to get the announcements of the tech coming out, and you're going to see a physical product at ISE, and then at Infocom, it would be there. Like we're thrown off a rhythm. It's almost like a circadian rhythm that we can't get a hold and get back on to doing, our thing. So that's
right. And how much are we missing? You have to wonder, with everyone almost 100% moving over these product launches and announcements to social media. I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn, there's no way I'm getting through my entire feed because there's just so much going on, because it's become a communications platform for everything, for basic comms and updates, and you have to wonder how much we're missing. And it is a shame that we haven't got ISE in the same format. And obviously we're going to see Infocom much later in the year, and there's a big question around how many of us are going to be able to travel there, particularly those of us that are in Europe. So I wonder what we've missed. I wonder how many product launches might have actually been delayed, particularly in those sectors that have really suffered a bit more throughout this pandemic. So, anything of that, we'd love to hear if there's any vendor partners and brands that are on here and so on. Let us know. Not necessarily now. You can inbox Chris and I on LinkedIn or use our Twitter handles and let us know what have we missed? What have you changed? What's your company done differently? I've got to read this one out. Mark Coxon, the weirdest place that he's worked. So in his closet or in the third row street of your truck, using the middle seats as a table. Now I get the truck thing, Mark, but I'd love to understand why the closet. What?
It was an acoustic thing. He must have been in there singing a presentation at this point. That's what I'm assuming.
Hey, so I watched this thing, and it was, I think it was a James Corden, the carpool karaoke thing, and he had, he was doing it with Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and he said the best acoustics are always in the toilet. So maybe that's where we're going wrong, and our home offices need to go to the toilet. But I don't think my Elgato ring light and setup would fit in mine. So not sure how that would work.
Very interesting. But I can't wait to bring, right now I know that Chris is kind of rebooting and getting all of his system, because obviously this is something that we've all grown patient with, right? Now, had this been a year ago and somebody couldn't join the call because of technical difficulties, everybody would be like, oh my God, what is going on? Can we send a cop to see what he's doing? Like, is it? No, right? Even in our tests. I mean, your vice president of home operations came in yesterday in the middle of our test, and you without flinching, you just went about your presentation, and yet your dog was right there. That would be Jenny's vice president of home operations. The pup came running in and jumped up and, gave her a scratch, and she didn't miss a beat. I think that we as people became human through this, because we kind of all humanized over this, right? It was not frowned upon, over the past year that you're going to have interruptions. And for a while, my dog was with me, but I lost the dog. My dog gave up on me because she has 3 other people at home to choose from. So I used to have a dog. I can't convince her to come back and visit me. But you know what? It's okay. She's not out, she's not out here snoring, which she would typically be. But I think that we, and I'm saying we in general, right? When it comes to the end, or when we finally see that light, right, where we start emerging out of our shelters, for that matter, I think that when we look back at this year, I think we have become stronger. And I'll say that from a resilient side, from a personal side, right? I don't think we've ever had to deal with something like this, right? I don't think that we've ever had to be put in a situation. The most terrifying situation that I could have been involved in was back in 9/11. And I never knew how the heck I'm going to go back to New York City, right? And I wasn't even near New York City, but just the thought, right? We've spent a year now under lockdown, and we've had to adapt. Some people adopted dogs, and definitely cool with that. But, we've had to adapt to a different style of living and working. And I think it's actually, it's iron sharpening iron. I think we've become more resilient to things. I think we let things roll off a lot easier. Whereas before it was kind of like, You know, there's construction going on outside. I will not get on a call. I don't want to hear the jackhammer. You know what? The call's going to get made, and you're going to hear it, and we're going to use a piece of tech that's going to do some audio fencing and block that out. The benefit of us being in this work from home experiment, essentially, is that we are pushing the limits of what tech is done. And I can tell you that over the past year, we've influenced some engineering to the point where they've improved the audio and acoustics because it's become a lifeline. Audio was just taken for granted for many years. And now it's, you know what? If my video's not good, my audio better be perfect, because that is how I'm going to do it. And I'm happy to see that a lot of our manufacturer partners are finally coming around to that. I mean, you brought it up in a conversation we were having, how important it is and how different it is to be with a set of headset on video, your audio. And, you know, you explained it so eloquently about how when you're on video, you talk differently. I'm from New Jersey. I talk with my hands. I don't even know I'll sit on my hands. I don't know what to do with them. But on video, you're a lot more engaged and you're talking louder and your voice, you know, peaks and goes down. Whereas on a phone call, you're just like, yep, okay, sounds great. Sounds awesome. Can you go through just a real quick, that little bit of insight you gave us? It stuck. And
Noise pollution.
What's that?
There's a reason I know so much about this, and it's because my immediate colleagues in the office regularly tell me to go home because I'm too loud. But a big part of that is because I'm usually on a video call, so we've done a bit of testing because we wanted to see if this was really the case. Actually, I have some colleagues and associates that are on a think tank with me who work for Google and WeWork, and this was a constant topic of conversation about this noise pollution and moving collaborators away from the desk. Well, I'm not necessarily a collaborator. I am, but I work with people all across the globe. But I am regularly on video calls. I tend to opt for Teams or Zoom ahead of any phone. I don't like having to hold something. And yeah, I'm too loud apparently to do it at the desk. And I looked at how I sound recording myself when I was on a phone call, and I compared it to how I sound when I'm on a video call. And then I've looked a little bit at those calls and recorded those calls to see what was happening at different times. My voice on a video call, and we've tested this with other people and it's the same with them, does this. And it gets even worse if I'm talking to a room of people and I'm addressing the person at the back, because somehow, you know how your mum always that embarrassing thing when she's really shouting, walking down the road on the mobile phone because they somehow think that will make sure they can hear them on the other side. It's like that. And I have no excuse. I'm a technologist and I'm still relatively young. So I'm, projecting because I can visually, I think that I need to project to get to them further, but their experience is probably just me getting louder. And I'm quite an animated person when I'm on a call as well. So my noise pollution is apparently horrendous. And here's one for you. We've been designing our new showroom in Dubai, which is very exciting. And in the offices, we're looking at some individual VC or phone booths to move some of that noise pollution away from the desk because of the increased use of video. And we're calling them shush booths. And there is a semi-petition in amongst the group team at Midwich UK to have a shush booth built for me. So I do think I will probably be one of those people that remains at home when everybody else goes back to the office. But hey, let's take a couple of questions because we're headed towards the end of our time. Although you can't hold us to it because I said ish at the beginning. Mark, what mics are we using today? So I've got a bit of a strange setup, but it works really well for me in this house. So I'm using a Poly Studio X30 and I have it in the device mode. So it's being used as if it were a USB peripheral. And for anyone that knows that product, it's actually capable of doing a hell of a lot more because it has inbuilt PC to use it as a Zoom room or a Teams room and so on. So, but it's a really nice and compact unit, and it slots on the top of my Yama touch monitor perfectly, allowing me to not have to mount it to anything. So that's great. And then, so I'm using the inbuilt mics on the Poly Studio X30. Chris?
I have a trio of microphones because I believe in backups. As a former technician, a backup to the backup to the backup is what I use, Mark. So my main microphone is a Shure SMB7 7B, which is what I'm using right now. I'm listening and have my backup microphone as a Yamaha YVC 200, which is off to the side. That's what I'm using for my audio, and it's also acting as my backup. And then on my front of me, I go as far as having a Q Audio 210 shotgun mic prepared in case one of the two fail, right? So yeah, I'm not the right person to ask when it comes to that. My typical traditional everyday video call is the Yamaha YVC 200 is what I use for all my calls for the most part, but this is kind of like an important thing. So I've kind of wheeled out and over prepared and over designed because that's what we do. So that's how I'm rolling. Thank you, Mark.
So you've made me seem a bit lazy there with my one product easy install, but just to also be clear, so sometimes I use a Shure MV7 podcast mic. I would encourage everyone to have a little play with that. It's a USB mic, but it behaves like a full-on podcast mic. It's an awesome piece of kit. And actually today I received a Wave 3 from Elgato, so I'm really excited to test that over the coming weeks and maybe let you know how that went on our next call. We have a question. Do we think VR could help product launches move online, or will trade shows stay king, or will it be a mix of the two? So here's the thing. Obviously, to as it stands at the moment, we would have to get some sort of headset, for true VR to all of that audience. And I think that's probably unrealistic, but we have started to hear a lot more about the use of VR for training. So where companies will invest either in headsets or more, they're looking into immersive spaces. And I think a big part of that is the nausea element, that no one's really 100% confident that we've gotten rid of that, and everyone has a different experience with VR. For me, I don't get any nausea, but it does take me a while to right myself afterwards, particularly if it's been a VR experience where I've navigated it myself rather than it sort of moving around me. But I also, we've had some really interesting panel debates over the last year, and I've met some people who are in charge of virtual reality or mixed reality experiences in some accounting company, the strangest of companies, the least likely, job roles that you expect to hear. So definitely there's a lot of development going in. It's a mega trend, and that's what we have to remember. Anything that's a mega trend, voice control, AI, mixed reality, people are throwing a lot of development into here. So I really think that we will see advancements, and we will see this heading our way. I certainly don't think that right now we can replace shows, and I think that our 2D experience that we're getting now from product launches is really the best we can hope for online, because it would be such a huge task to get a headset of some sort out to all of those people. And Richard has just made an excellent comment here of you can't network successfully in a virtual setting. So, but hey, what's the film, Chris, where they do the headsets on and they do the virtual reality VC call and everyone appears next to the Kingsman. It's called the Kingsman. So that, I do think that'll happen. I wonder if we'll see better glasses first and advancements in the hardware before we really get there. So I'm really excited by VR. I love it. In fact, I love smart spaces and mixed reality, but I'm particularly excited about augmented reality in retail. So I think that we've all become really expert in using our personal device. And so those apps that you get where you can see what furniture looks like or blinds look like on your windows using a camera, I think that's coming in store. And I think that's really exciting, because we've all become so used to doing everything on a personal device. Why not use it now as part of your in-store experience, part of your signage? So you would hold it up, and it might give you some details about the different clothes rails that you're looking at in a fashion store or something. And this is probably a good time to plug the next show, because the next show's topic will be retail focused. Look out for that. Please subscribe to the channel if you're interested in joining. So we'll be talking about retail. We will have a special guest, and fingers crossed They don't have any network issues. I'm gutted that Chris Jaynes wasn't able to join us today, but at least it proves that we're live.
Absolutely.
And not pre-recorded. I think it's probably time, before we get in trouble, Chris, to plug the competition.
Well,
do you want to do that?
Yeah, why not? So here's your chance. This is what you guys have all been waiting for. You don't stick around for 45, 50 minutes just to hear me talk. No, maybe Jenny, but not me. But what I'm here for is to tell you that there is a competition. You want to win 200 pounds, $200, Amazon virtual, not virtual. We're not going in there. An Amazon voucher. So this is what you got to do. You got to follow the web address that's going to be popping up right below here. And you have to answer one simple question. Go to that midwich.com/MLComp1. In there, you will find a question. And I will give you a hint. The Smashing Pumpkins wrote a song that kind of goes with that as well. For anybody who is a Gen Xer or grew up in the 90s, you will understand what I'm getting at once you see the question. Please go there, and the next show, we will reveal the winner. So please go into the website. We're trying to get it up onto the YouTubes and all the social channels as well, so you can just press the link and go and enter. It's very simple, very easy. Go ahead. The other thing that we're looking for before we jump off the competition thing, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It's through that we know that we can actually go ahead and get the okay to move on and do another show. The next time, though, hopefully we'll have better luck with our guests. But look at what we did, Jenny. We talked for 45 minutes about the things that we actually kind of like. So now you guys know.
Yeah. I never doubted, Chris, that you and I wouldn't be able to talk for 45 minutes. I just hope, let's hope that people aren't too disappointed if they only came here to see Chris Jaynes. I really hope that we've had a discussion that was topical, and we'd really love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you, about this show, but what you want from future shows. So this is your platform. We're ready to mold it in any way. You know, we've picked the streaming platform, we've picked the presenters, so you can't sack us too, but you can tell us which guests you'd like us to bring on, topics that you want us to discuss, and any ideas for the show. You're welcome to tell us what sort of prizes you'd like to see on future competitions. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to do them. Just before we head out, though, Gabe, this is really interesting. Common Sense Media had a study in 2018 that adults should not use VR headsets for more than 20 minutes at a time. Isn't that interesting? That really interesting. And I wonder if that is to do with the nausea, or if there's actually some more health factors there. So, hey, I'm going to go and research that. I'm quite intrigued to see why that is. And maybe that's quite concerning, because I know a few youngsters that game for far longer on VR headsets than 20 minutes. So be interesting to see what's potentially happening to them and what's detrimental to their health. Thank you so much. It's been really great to see all these comments coming through. And thanks for your encouragement, guys, as well, coming through on the chats.
The engagement is what's going to fuel this. And, the way it works is the more likes, the more subscriptions, the more, hey, we'd like to see more, the better chance we have of having episode 2 and not getting sacked, as Jenny said. But yes, absolutely. Check us out next month. We are definitely got a second show, and let us know. We want to bring Chris back. If we need to do a special edition and bring Chris back just because we can grab him on another date, we're going to work with his schedule. We'd absolutely love to hear more about that. What kind of questions you want for us to ask Chris, because aside from what Chris does as a CTO for a company that actually builds and produces a product, Chris is super knowledgeable in the space of the return to office and the work space. And some of the stuff that he talked to us about on the side prior to in our rehearsals, very interesting where it's going to go. And it's a different perspective. The one thing I encourage everybody here who's thinking that everything is just going to, the plug is going to turn back on and it's business as usual, remain open-minded. Everybody's coming back at a different time. Everybody's coming back with different expectations. And the best advice I can do is, or I can say, is to be empathetic and to understand that not everybody's in the same situation. There's going to be parents coming back that are worried that their kids are still home, or others that are worried that their kids are in school. So come in with a little bit of different perspective. Obviously, use technology to its fullest and see what you can do to stay better connected. If you haven't upgraded your home office or gotten to that point, discuss that with your company. See if you can get the better camera and the better video applications. See if you can get a better microphone. If you can work that in and it makes your home working solution good, don't think that it's going to go away. Just because the offices are opening, you're still going to have the opportunity to possibly work from home. So if you're going to do that, do it right so that it matches the same experience that you're going to have back in the office. That's my advice. And that's it. It's free. Take it if you'd like. If you don't, you can curl it up, throw it in the trash. Jenny, do you have any final parting thoughts for people?
Hey, I think my only thing now is to any of the leadership teams out there that are watching, it's time to listen to your staff. I've watched people who rejected technology become experts over the last year. So their voice matters now. It really does. And before you make those buying decisions that are right for the budget or that are right for your personal use case, stop, listen to your staff. People have really learned a lot through self-teaching at home, and you might learn something from them too. So it's been really great. I can't wait for the next one. I'll be in a new house as well, so I might try and match your purple, Chris, for the next one so that we don't clash.
I'm just trying to camouflage it and mix into the background here that we got going on. But with that, I would like to thank everybody for spending a portion of your afternoon, your evening, your morning with us. Thank you so much. This is our first time that we're trying to do a global version talk show, and hopefully this is appealing and something that you guys would like to see and encourage more to see from us, and we can bring other people on and other guests, and we can even at some point expand this to do some crazier stuff because it's fluid. It can move and it can change. So this has been episode 1, or I guess the first groundbreaking episode of Midwich Live. My name is Chris Neto. I am with Starren. You can find me on the internet. I'm across the LinkedIns and Twitters and Instagrams and all those kind of things. You can pretty much Google Chris_Neto and it'll probably pop up with my Twitter. My company, Starren.biz is our website, and our Twitter is out there as well as our LinkedIn. We are easy to get a hold of, and trust me, I get a little notification knowing that you're looking for us. So please feel free. Jenny, can you provide us some of the Midwich contact details that are out there and your contact details so our fine audience can find us?
Sure, definitely. So on behalf of the whole of the Midwich Group, big thank you for being here. Anyone who's not sure who their local Midwich Group company is, feel free to inbox me on LinkedIn. Just look up Jenny Hicks and Midwich if there's 70 other Jenny Hickses that pop up. Alternatively, you can reach me on Twitter at Midwich Jenny. And then also we could correspond by email, jenny.hicks@midwich.com if anyone wants to push any comments to me or have me point you in the right direction to speak to one of our teams, but most importantly for feedback on this Midwich Live. So thanks so much for joining us. It's been loads of fun and we can't wait for the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Midwich Live. We will see you soon.